This to me is springtime. This to me is what I want to be, is this little girl picking flowers in the spring. Hi everybody, my name's Alex and I recently started knitting. In this video, I really want to talk about my spring knitting plans and maybe a little bit of a pattern roundup of all the things that are really inspiring me. I started crocheting about a year ago and I've made tons of things, mostly hats to gift to people. But I recently started knitting and it has completely consumed my life. It's all I think about, I dream about it, and I love it. And I'm so glad that I found this incredible hobby. And I'm thinking about what I want to make for the springtime. I live in a pretty warm climate. It's pretty sunny and in the high 60s to mid 70s all spring. So my spring knitwear is kind of leaning towards summer because it's kind of the same climate. And with that being said, I have several tank tops and t-shirts, as well as some sweaters. If I'm looking this way, it's because I'm looking at my computer and I'm referencing all the patterns on here. So the first pattern that's really inspiring me is the Ophelia blouse by Tamara Jordan. She is also known as Starcross Knits on YouTube, Instagram, and Ravelry. And I absolutely love this blouse, especially how she styled it where she's not wearing anything underneath and it's just buttoned up. It comes in sizes from a 30-inch to a 60-inch bust, so quite a large size range. And it's meant to be worn with 0 to 1.25 inches of positive ease. I think that the shaping is so beautiful. I love that it kind of curves in and then goes out at your hips. I love the little lace detail along all of the sides. I love that it's a shorter t-shirt. A lot of the t-shirt patterns that I've seen have a longer arm, and I definitely prefer something that's more like this, where it's between a cap sleeve and a full-on t-shirt. She recommends knitting for all of pure silk. Also, she uses very small, tiny little needles, so this might take me a long time. But the fact that it's a t-shirt, not a sweater, I don't have to worry about making sleeves, and I can also wear it in the summertime. So I feel like if I start now, it's a good garment through spring and summer. I love her sample. I love the color. I love the fabric. I love the drape. I love everything about this. The next pattern that I'm obsessed with is the Silene top by Emma Mayer. I apologize if I pronounce anybody's name wrong. Please let me know if I pronounce anybody's name wrong so I don't say it wrong in the future. It comes in a extra small to a 4XL, which is a bust circumference of 30 to 58 inches. This tank top is to die for. I especially love the test knit that Hip Knit Hooray made in this beautiful chocolate brown color. I love the texture. I think that you just make the texture using variations of knit and purl stitches. I don't think it's very complicated. I haven't purchased the pattern yet, but that's what I've heard other creators talk about. I think that there's two options for the straps. You can either do an I-cord or you can knit a slightly wider band. I would probably go for the I-cord. I think I really love that look. I feel like it's also going to be pretty quick to knit up because it's basically just a tube and then some straps. I don't know how I feel about warm weather knitwear yet because a knit fabric seems really warm and I am a sweaty person. I can't wear warm things in warm weather. But this seems small enough that even though it's knit, it won't be too warm. And I think I would probably make it in a cotton or a linen or something that's not very insulating. I would not make it in wool. Maybe a cotton merino blend. But anyway, I just love all of the sample photos. I look at this probably once a day. I'm so excited to make this. I haven't purchased any yarn for it yet, but yeah, very excited. Still debating on color. I just love this chocolate brown so much. I'm excited about this one. The next pattern that I have is also a tank top. I know, sorry, this is leaning towards summer knitwear, but if we start now, then we have it to wear all the way through summer as well. This is called the 7 p.m. tank by Tiffany Ty, who I think is also known as Tiff Knit. This comes in sizes 28 to 62 inches for your bust, which is even more than the other two patterns that I've mentioned. And it's this beautiful tank top that I think you knit in two pieces. The band across your bust is knit in stockinette in the normal direction, up and down, but the band around your waist is knit sideways. I think that construction is really beautiful. It also looks like it has little darts on the bust. Sorry, I'm showing you my boobs. Darts for shaping along your bust, which I really appreciate. I find that a lot of patterns don't include bust shaping and they tug on me weirdly. I also think it looks really simple, but it's intricate enough to be oh, that's a cool top. Not just a regular tank top. It's not just a casual cami. It has a cool enough construction that I think, I don't know, I just think it's really beautiful. So this one is knit on, again, 2 to 2.75 millimeter needles, which is a little daunting, but it doesn't have any sleeves. It is quite cropped, so I feel like it won't take too long. Not that I mind knitting taking a long time. I love the process as well, but I feel like this is more a summer tank top. So spring, summer, if I start it now, I can wear it all the way through summer. And she recommends a light fingering. Again, I would probably use natural fiber for this, like a cotton or a linen or a cotton merino blend, just because I don't want it to be too hot. I'm going to move away from t-shirts and tank tops and go into sweaters. So the next thing on my list is called the clematis sweater, again by Emma Mayer. She's the one who made that tank top with the really cool texture that I talked about earlier. Comes in sizes extra small to 4XL, same as the tank top pattern that she also makes. And it's this sweater that has a diagonal button band from the shoulder down to the bottom hip. And I just love the way that she's styled it with some of the buttons undone and like her hands in her pocket here. I think that's such a cool photo, such a cool vibe. And then this other photo in this like olive green, like a yellowy green with the buttons more undone. I love that. I just think that this is such a cool cardigan and I haven't seen any construction like this before. This suggests a DK weight. Oh, a DK with a lace held together. And it's on 4.5 millimeter needles. So maybe a little bit faster to knit up than the tank tops. However, you do have to knit sleeves. So there's that. But this is definitely one I'm more comfortable knitting. Like I've knit 2 sweaters, a hat, and some mittens so far. So I feel like this is more my gauge that I am comfortable knitting. And yeah, I just think it's really pretty and could be styled so many different ways and worn with so many different articles of clothing. This next sweater that I want to talk about is the blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things. And this is actually something that I'm definitely planning to make. There's the blouse number 1, the original blouse number 1, and then there's a blouse number 1 light, which has a larger gauge. And the blouse number 1 is 2 strands of light fingering held together, which she says equals an Aran weight. I don't really know what that means yet. But I'm assuming it's thicker material. And then the blouse number 1 light is just a lace weight and it's on a larger size needle. So the blouse number 1 normal is on 5 millimeter needles and the blouse number 1 light is on 6 millimeter needles. I was debating back and forth between which one I want to make. And I think that I want to go for the fabric that is less see-through because I want to be able to just wear it by itself. I don't want to worry about like what I'm wearing underneath it because that might be showing through. My Favorite Things knits this in Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. Again, a great summer fabric. But I chose something different. So I actually have a swatch here. So I went to a local yarn store when I was visiting back home. Where I live right now doesn't have a great yarn store, so I was really, really excited to be able to go to a yarn store and like pick out and see and touch. I'm planning to make a video showing off the yarn stores and documenting what I saw and what I ended up buying, but this was one of the yarns that I ended up buying. It is Yarn Citizen in the color chestnut. I'm aware that this is not a spring color. This is not a spring or summer color. This is very much a fall color. They had a sample in the store knit in this color and I just loved it so much. And I think that it'll complement my skin tone really well. Because the blouse number 1 uses 2 strands of pure silk held together, I didn't think that this would be thick enough to get an opaque fabric. So then I also got the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in the color Rust. I got this one in person and then ordered this one online. And I thought that they would complement each other pretty well. I'm a sucker for some rust. I love rust colored things. Rust and like burgundy are my 2 favorite colors. But anyway, I knit a gauge swatch and I started here and I started on the 5 millimeter needles, which is what the pattern calls for, but my gauge was too loose. So I ended up sizing down to a 4.5 millimeter needle. This is how I separated it. And I was able to meet gauge perfectly. The reason I bought the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk is because this was quite expensive. It was from a yarn store. And this is a cheaper mohair type situation that I think is really soft. So I knit another sweater, another step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller. And I held Drops Lima with the Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. And I think it's soft enough to wear like close to the body. So I thought this was a good bet and less expensive option. And I'm really excited for this blouse number 1. I think it's going to be a beautiful color. And even though it's a fall color, I think that I will definitely consider it a spring knit because I'm knitting it in the spring. If I like this, I'm probably also going to knit it in the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, but I'm gearing myself up for that price tag because that could be quite expensive. From what I can tell, this is a top-down construction. I've seen some other people knit this. I don't have the pattern yet, so I don't know exactly how it works, but I would prefer a top-down construction because then I can try it on as I go. If you decide to make this in like a beautiful spring pastel color or like this beautiful yellow color that My Favorite Things has knitted in, that is definitely more spring appropriate than my choice. So that was kind of 2 sweaters wrapped up in one segment. And then this is kind of in the same vein as sweaters, but is more so long sleeve shirts that I just love. And who knows if I'll make these because it's on very tiny needles and a very small gauge. But the first one is the Naked Tee by Naked Knit. And this comes in a size small to a size extra, extra large, so 2XL, which is not the most inclusive size range. However, it is a made to measure pattern. So you do measure your own circumference and then calculate the number of stitches that you cast on in order to make it. If you are a size that's not included in this size range, you could still make the pattern work. You just would have to do some extra calculations, which I don't love. I really, really wish that this designer would have more sizes available. I think I'm actually going to knit this for my mom. I showed this to her. This is totally something that she would wear. And she said that she would pay for the yarn if I made it for her. So that is a plus. And I think that I want to make her something, and I think that she would get a lot of wear out of this. The recommended yarn is Gepard Cashmere Lace. So it's a lace weight yarn knit on 2.5 millimeter needles, so very small. I think it's actually knit bottom up. And yeah, I think it's just like a perfect layering piece for spring. I think you can wear it under a lot of things, extra layer for when it's like chilly in the morning, but then warm throughout the day and then chilly again at night. Along the same vein as the Naked Tee is the ttthin sweater, spelled ttthin sweater by Wool and Beyond. I love Wool and Beyond. I have been watching her YouTube videos and I think that she's adorable and I want to be her best friend. This is knit on 3 millimeter needles. The suggested yarn is Knitting for Olive Merino. So this is a merino wool. I'm sure it's probably intended for like a winter type knit, but I think that it's a perfect layering piece for a transitional time like spring. And the sizes are extra small to 4XL. So it is much more size inclusive than the Naked Knit pattern. I love this little X detail along the collar. It reminds me of a thermal layer that you wear when you go skiing. And I just love the sample photo. I think that there's also a matching skirt that you can make. So I personally don't wear skirts. I wouldn't make the skirt, but if you wear skirts, this is such a cute little loungewear springtime set. The next category I have is vests. I've been seeing a lot of vests, and I think the vests are a great piece for spring because they're a layering option. So you could like wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt underneath the vest, and it could be warm, or you could just wear the vest by itself and it is nice and spring/summery. And the first one is the My Honey Vest by Wool and Beyond. I saw this vest and I was like, this is the coolest thing I have ever seen. To be honest, I don't know if it necessarily fits in my wardrobe. Like, I don't know if I will wear this, but I want to make it so badly. It's this really cool honeycomb brioche. So you have like a background color and then the brioche is a contrast color. So you can kind of see the coloring behind the brioche. And I think that the honeycomb is so beautiful and cool. And then it has these little I-cord ties that you tie it in the front. So I guess you could wear this without anything underneath it, but I think that personally I would wear like a t-shirt underneath it. It looks like there's also a back panel on the top that goes straight across the back before the honeycomb underneath. I've never seen any vest like this before, and I think it's what a cool piece to like make yourself. This comes in sizes extra small to 5XL, so a great size range. And it's knit on 3 millimeter needles. The suggested yarn is a fingering weight, and I think that the designer uses a merino wool. I saw Rebecca from Hip Knit Hooray talk about it a lot. I love her videos. She's another YouTube knitting podcaster that I would highly recommend watching. She just has totally inspired me to want to make this vest. Okay, another vest that I have seen that I think is really cool is the Olivier vest by Emily Y. Chen. It says that it's a waistcoat inspired vest featuring princess panels and piping details. It looks like it's quite structured, so it has this piping detail along all of the seaming, and it has a lot of shaping in the chest area, and then it has this beautiful back panel detail. I'm not sure if I would include the bow. I'm not a big bow person, but I definitely love all the different directions that the fabric goes. And seriously, every single sample photo is just incredible. Oh, okay, so that one had a bow, but this one has a little buckle. Is that what that's called? A buckle? So you could like tighten it along your waist exactly like a waistcoat. How cool. The sizes available are size 1 through 10, which I don't really understand. Oh, okay. So it's a size 31 to 67 inch bust. So quite inclusive size range, which I love. And it's knit on 3.75 millimeter needles and recommends a sport weight. I definitely think that this would take me a long time just because the construction is so complicated and I am a beginner, but in the realm of vests, I think this is pretty freaking cool. And then the last pattern that I have in this springtime pattern roundup is the Penelope kerchief. It's like a handkerchief. Penelope kerchief by Linnea Neiman, also known as Wholesome Knits. I'm not a big handkerchief headband person, but I think that this one specifically is such a nice accessory for spring. I find that sometimes they look too meshy and then you end up looking like one of those fruits that you see at the grocery store. Maybe I'll insert a photo so you know what I'm talking about. This one has beautiful lace detailing all down the middle, and I love the triangle shape so that it kind of like folds and drapes nicely over your head. One of my goals this year is to learn lace, and I feel like learning lace on a smaller accessory like this is a good introduction. And then I also think that it's a good way to use up some scraps. Recommends a DK weight, which is great because most things I have are DK weight, and is knit on a 4 millimeter needle. I just absolutely love the photo of this little girl in a little yellow dress with her matching yellow headband. This to me is springtime. This is what I want to be. Is this little girl picking flowers in the spring. I think that concludes all the patterns that I have for you today. Thank you so much if you stuck with me till the end. I really appreciate you being here, and I really enjoyed making this video and like kind of collecting all of my thoughts about spring. If you plan on making any of these patterns, or if you have more patterns to share for the springtime, please comment them down below. I would love to talk to you guys about what we're all knitting this spring. I hope that you gathered some inspiration. Let me know if you liked it so that I know if I should make future pattern roundups. And if you like this content, maybe you could subscribe and hang out with me every once in a while. I think I'm planning to post once a week to once every other week. I don't have anybody in my life who knits, so it's pretty cool to get to see and relate to all of the knitting content that's out there on the internet. If you agree, let me know. I'll see you in the next one.